What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to Spirit Tea Talks podcast with your spiritual big sis, Sin from Divine Hoops. Or if you're new here, welcome to our mystical, glorified, fuck around and find out soul fam. I am so enchanted to have you here, and hopefully you're here to stay. And for those who are coming back, what's up? Go ahead and get yourself situated and comfy, and let's spill some tea for y'all. Y'all, I pulled out the mic for this one, the mic and the headphones for this episode because I feel like I need to be heard loud and clear, and hopefully you guys do get to hear me loud and clear. Um, this topic of discussion has been something that I've been wanting to talk about since maybe the beginning of this year, due to everything that has transpired and everything that has happened throughout. If you're new here, and there has been a lot of new followers on IG and TikTok, so what's up? What's good? I'm so glad to have y'all. Truly and just truly thankful for all the support and love. Um, but before we jump into today's episode, I kind of want to give you guys some updates in regards to Divine Hoops as a whole. So, if you guys are not aware, starting June 1st, I will be back in business full time, back to doing readings and rituals. And I'm pretty sure some of y'all are kind of wondering, like, weren't you already doing it full time? No, I had actually taken a step back, even though there might have been consistency in my work before before March, because after March, I hit a roadblock. That's what I'm gonna call it. That's what I'm gonna stick to. So there was still time for me to do some of my spiritual aspects, although for a while I have been doing this spiritual work just all full blown since late 2019 all the way till late 2023. And I'm gonna be honest, I started getting burnt out. I started to feel really tired and just unmotivated. So I knew that I had to take a break from doing work consistently, because those who do work on this type of level, it does become very exhausting. We kind of have to find different avenues to keep our energy flowing. And I was really trying. I mean, I was trying. And, I had to consult with Santissima, and Santissima was able to help me to prosper and become more abundant. And with the time that I had apart, gave me the inspiration for the apothecary, and y'all are seeing now how much the apothecary has grown. I've been able to do merch. So and by the way, there's going to be a new merch drop for the summer, so keep a lookout for that. And when I mean merch, I don't mean just Divine Hoops as a whole. I do Santa Muerte merch as well, so if you guys weren't aware of that, well, now you know. And hopefully you guys get to support that side of my business, because all contributions go to Santa Muerte, so we would really appreciate that. But that time frame gave me the motivation to kind of come back and do things in a different level, and I started feeling good. And now I'm at this point, um, during March, where things were just a little bit chaotic, a little chaotic for a good 8 weeks. And I mean, I would be lying if I said that I'm not going through it. We're human. We have emotions, and grieving is it's weird. There's every type of form of grieving. You can be grieving somebody that has passed on. You can be grieving somebody that you had to let go of but are still, here. You have to grieve your old self. There's a lot of that happens. And during the eclipse season, I had been presented with a huge huge test of love, and maybe one day I can talk about it. I'm not completely ready to speak on those terms, but yes. So now I'm kind of ready to get back in the zone. I kind of got the green light. I seriously believe in divine timing more than anything else. And as soon as I got my new money Santa Muerte and the new Aztec Santa Muerte from Azriel, it was like this big weight have been lifted off of me of like, okay, this is where I need to be and this is where I need to go. And now I have different plans for myself for this year, next year, and even the year after that. So 2026 is going to be a grand year, if all plays out well, which it will. But with that being said, and I always say that, but all I'm trying to say is that make sure to keep a lookout because phone call readings are going to be live starting next week, and from here on out. So now you'll be able to kind of chit chat with me on a more consistent basis, making it more affordable, so we can have more people tapping in. Because the one thing that I did notice was that a lot of people were trying to go to different practitioners or people that would claim to be practitioners, and then they would open up portals and they would get really sick or shit would start going off. And that's because I always tell you to be careful who you go to get services done spiritually, because you don't know what kind of debt those people have. Okay, so that's major. Other than that, I think that's really it for my announcements or anything new, because I really want to jump into this topic of discussion, and it's about Santa Muerte. And something that I have noticed throughout my years of devotion was that people always constantly ask, is Santa Muerte upset with me? If I do X, Y, and Z, will Santa Muerte be upset? And I kind of want to talk about it in my own experience. Again, okay, this is everything that I talk about in regards to Santa Muerte is my own personal views, is my own personal experience. It doesn't mean that is my way and the high or the highway. Like it's just literally how I've interpreted, how I've been doing my sort of devotion with Santa Muerte, and how I've been able to grow with my community of devotees. Okay, so I had posted earlier, do you often wonder if you're doing something or not doing enough of something? If so, does that make Santa Muerte upset, right? And I had said I'm going to delve into this topic of discussion on my next episode of Spirit Detox podcast and bring awareness. As someone who has encountered same feelings and exposed to people in this community who have felt Santa Muerte, this will be a very interesting topic. And in my caption, I mentioned I've been wanting to delve into this subject matter for a while now. Many of you know how much BS I encountered the last few months of 2023 and the beginning of this year. People who I thought were friends or allies turned to be the weirdest and most disloyal people. All devotees to Santa Muerte. Let's talk about what to expect and if your actions truly affect your devotion to Santísima. And that's really the basis of what we're going to get into. Now, we're going to start off with the most common question of, I didn't have time to pray to Santa Muerte, or I have neglected my altar because I am so depressed, or I am so busy, or I'm just going through a lot, and now I'm afraid that Santa Muerte is mad at me, or upset, or angry, or does no longer want me to be devoted to her because I have neglected her for so long. I've talked about it previously that I too was going through feelings, some sort of feelings that are similar. Jesus Christ, I said the same things over and over again. But I'm trying to be very mindful of how I'm saying and wording things, because I don't want it to get taken off of what I'm like. I don't want it to be taken to a whole different level of what I'm really trying to say. But I have been there when I was going through my separation and realizing that I had been dealing with a narcissist and abuse, being pregnant and being harassed, and just having to take care of my little one and not knowing, like, I was basically homeless. I had nowhere to live that was really stable. My altars were just everywhere and trying to preserve as much as I could, etc., etc. I did go through a whole month of like not wanting to get out of bed and just extremely depressed. Couldn't even have the energy to go to my altar and pray to Santa Muerte to help me. I felt shameful to even ask her for help because I was just in a very low, low place in my life. However, I had already been in therapy. I've done shadow work for quite some time, and during this time frame, because I do have someone that relies on me and tries to make sure that I'm good, so there can be good, such as my daughter. I had to kind of snap out of it just a little bit, just enough to get me out of bed and do something about it, which I ended up doing like a healing jar. I was just like, all right, I need to shake this off. And I ended up going to mommy's altar. I asked for forgiveness. I got on my knees and I was just crying and crying to her and just hugging her. And I automatically felt this like motherly presence. So I knew that I was safe. um, that kind of felt that reassurance of like, okay, like I can do this and I can go to her and like, open up to her the way that I should be opening up to her. So I ended up creating this healing jar, and with that, she gave me the ability to come up with a healing oil. And the healing oil, oh my god, it was chef's kiss that I ended up doing a bigger batch and actually selling it. That's when my apothecary really started to kind of open up, and I ended up creating more oils after that, and it was like a great little boost of energy and just more than anything more of a healing energy that I needed to get through this situation that was presented to me and the struggles that I was going through and trying to get out of that depression mode. However, it was not easy. It was not easy, but I started to come back to my devotion, and not that I ever left the devotion, but being like there with her, like in the altar and the physical, because spiritually I was constantly always there, right? I never went and abandoned her, or I never went and just completely neglected my altar by giving things away or not placing things. Like, no, I was still kind of placing water and lighting incense and then just doing small things like that, right? Because I felt like that was all the energy that I could give at that moment. So, with that being said, there's been a lot of people that are going through things or have gone through things that are like, I just have not like been there. I have neglected my altar. I've neglected her. It's been some time and I just don't know if she's upset. And, it all depends on how you are moving. You yourself know exactly how you're maneuvering the situation, exactly what it is that you're feeling. And most importantly, Santa Muerte knows what you're going through. She sees everything, right? She knows how you're feeling and what you're encountering, which means that she's understanding in that sense. Now, it'd be different if, like, you're packing away the altar, not communicating with her whatsoever, or just, I don't know, just being ugly towards her, or just abandoning, can't talk, just leaving her behind, abandoning her, and that's even I can't even say the word because I cannot imagine ever leaving her despite of what I'm personally going through. I can't see myself being that type of person to just being like, oh, this isn't for me, um, or so and so does not like her, so I'm just going to leave her behind, or like whatever the case is, right? I can never see myself getting even upset with her. I'm gonna get to that point as well of people getting upset with her and questioning her. Like, I need to really talk about that too. So y'all know what y'all are doing and where your heart is. And at the end of the day, So does she. She knows where your heart is, and if there isn't any sort of leaving her behind that comes from it, I don't see her getting upset as long as you are communicating with her. And of course, over time, it's going to take some growth and some accountability and consistency to get and rebuild your relationship, because just like anything, you're going to have to pick up where you left from and also do some extra work, because now there's been time um, apart, right? That needs to be restored, and now there's some consistency that really needs to happen in order for it not to transpire as long or as often, right? That's why I've always talked about having a set day of the week if you're starting your devotion or you're trying to get back into a routine. Because there's a lot of people that I say, like, she's not answering my prayers, or she's not, like, I don't know how she feels, or whatever the case is. And it's like sometimes you kind of have to reflect on what you are doing as an individual. What is it that you are doing? What are your actions? What are your motives into your relationship with Santa Muerte, right? So you also have to keep that in mind, because if you're not being honest and transparent, then at that time you kind of have to really take a step back and not put the blame on her, or like, what is it that she doesn't like, or what is it that she's upset with, because at the end, it's really all on you. Okay? Now, again, I don't see her getting upset over something as like you're going through a hard time and you haven't had the time to get back into it. You know what I mean? It takes a lot. Spirituality and your spiritual work, it's a lot of energy and it's a lot to get through. Can you just imagine somebody doing it at a professional level and having to not only deal with their own self, but dealing with 20 to hundreds of clients on a consistent basis, right? And I feel like a lot of people that are aware of how much energy and how much work it really takes, those are usually the people that are more patient and understanding to other practitioners that do this on a, you know, I guess professional basis, you can call it. But again, I don't see her getting upset for you just living a human experience and taking some time to figure out how you're feeling and how to go about it. However, please come back to it. Sit with it, but go through it. Don't stay there for too long, and ask her for help in any way, shape, or form that may be. Ask her for help if that's just as much energy as you can give, right? What she can give is just so tremendous. Like I've always said, I'm a walking testimony of all the greatness that she has done, and I'm forever grateful for that. Now, let's talk about what I had mentioned earlier on my post of how I have encountered really shitty people in shitty situations that have been put on me. And honestly, I haven't even had the time to really sit with it, reflect, and feel it out, because everything happened so fast. And after the fact, and even during the fact, that's when all shit broke loose in February, and I started really getting into my grieving process, and love and all of that happened in March. Uh, Reunited of twin flames, whatever the case, however you may want to call it, whenever I'm ready to talk about it. um, that I didn't really get the time to sit down and really think, like, wow, that's so foul. Like how this community plays a huge part on trust and this loyalty, or loyalty, right? Depending on who you surround yourself with. And it was extremely hurtful for my experience. And I say that because I've had people in my DMs, like my ex is a Santa Muerte devotee, and why isn't shit happening to him? Like, why isn't Mami like retaliating or giving justice, or why isn't she doing something about it? Just because we don't see the lessons that Santa Muerte gives to her children does not mean she's not giving them. Okay? I've had so many women and men constantly ask me, like, I'm a Santa Muerte devotee, so is my ex. So whose side is Santa Muerte going to choose? And it's not about picking sides, it's about balancing the scales. It's about balancing the energy. It's about giving results from both ends. And what I don't appreciate and what I don't like is when I get those types of DMs of questioning Santa Muerte and her love internally despite of what a person has done, because she will let her children eat ass. Okay, she will let her children fall to the fucking ground. She will move to the side for her children to learn their lesson, just like any other mother. Like, if you're not listening and you're being stubborn, then I'm gonna watch you from over here and see if you're gonna learn your lesson, because we are human. Some people can be redeemable. Some people can really, come up on top. It does not mean that it's your place to question whether or not Santa Muerte is doing her best for you and for that person. And I say this because, as someone who's encountered betrayal and just disloyalty from people that are well known in the Santa Muerte community, and that is so painful because it's like we come from the same branch. How dare you try to cut my leaves because of your own self, your own shadows? And it hurts, but I have never went to Santa Muerte and questioned her, like, are you gonna do something about it? Are you gonna teach them a lesson? Because I know damn well those people, and they know exactly who they are, that mistreated me, that didn't stand up for me, didn't defend my honor, and it was due to them that I got railed into a situation that I should have never been put through. And then there's someone who called themselves my bestie, and I would bring them on my live. I brought them on my podcast, deleted that episode though, and took them under my wing, and I defended them through thick and thin. And then, knowing that there was a time where I really needed them, where I was going through all of this shit, they just disappeared, no longer answering my calls, no longer really being there. And that's disloyalty. That's being fake. And people like that, I would never trust with my life. And I would never trust people as practitioners, because if you can look me in the eye, call me a friend, but turn around and do some shady shit, I would not trust you as a spiritual person, because that just means that your spiritual hygiene and your loyalty is not in alignment. And they may feel some sort of way if they were to ever hear this, or if somebody were to ever tell them like what I'm saying, and they may disagree, and to each their own. But that's just how I see it, because not once has Azriel, and everybody has their own opinion about Azriel, hijo de la Santa Muerte. They all have their opinions, but Azriel has never, ever, 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 ever put me in a situation where I have to defend myself to another woman, because now they're feeling insecure and feeling jealous over my relationship or my friendship with him. And him and I talked about it when I expressed to him about the situation with Roman, Phoenix de Mictlan, and even Des, right? When I sat down and told him all that there was happening, I even told him, like, all my years of like knowing you and you bringing me up on your lives and shouting me out, there has never been a problem. You have never put me in a situation where like I have to defend myself or feeling like I can reach out to you. He has never put me in that predicament. And we talked about it and he made great valid points as he always does. And that just goes to show someone as dedicated and as loyal as Azriel into his devotion shows the type of person that he is overall. And that's why I say that people that backstab you, that leave you high and dry, are people that I wouldn't trust spiritually. Because if that means that you can leave people that you consider loved ones, I can just imagine what you would do to somebody that you don't consider a loved one. You know what I mean? But I will never go and look at Santa Muerte and ask her, like, why aren't you taking care of them? Or what are you going to do about it to take care of them? Because the scales need to find a balance. And I'm pretty sure if she hasn't already, she will take care of it. And for that, I'm always having the faith that everything will work out in the way that it needs to. And everybody who has wronged me or had ill intent or ill emotions towards me, envious emotions, whatever it is, they will get theirs in due time. And it's the same way that you guys have to perceive things too. Or you don't have to. I mean, you don't really have to do anything, but it's better to just let go and trust Santissima to take care of situations than to feel obligated for answers and results right away, because that's not how spirituality works. And it shouldn't work that way, because why would you want it to work like that? That's coming from an egotistical place. That's not coming from a place of trust and faith. That it takes a lot for Santa Muerte to be upset. However, in previous episodes, I have talked about how this new wave of devotees always talk about, oh, she's so forgiving. It's okay. It's okay. She's so forgiving. She's so understanding. But at what extent are we, as humans, because we are humans, we live this human experience and we have feelings and such, are we going to say, but I respect her enough to not continue to fuck up? Because it's the same senses that if you were with a loved one, a partner, and that partner keeps doing small things and they're understanding, right? But everybody has a breaking point of like, all right, these small things are starting to add up. And now I'm losing trust in you. I'm losing respect from like of you. Like I'm becoming resentful. And it's kind of in the same bias with Santa Muerte. Eventually, she will walk away. She will walk away and she will not come back. There's a lot of talk of like, of course, let's not fearmonger Santissima and our devotion to her because already she has a reputation. I want to say, however, there should be there should be some sort of fear as in respect, because a lot of people that are like, oh, I'm kind of scared, but it's not because I'm scared of her. I'm like afraid or nervous or anxious because I have so much respect for her. And that's how I felt too in the beginning of my devotion. I wasn't afraid of her. I wasn't scared of my devotion. I was just scared to fuck up because I have so much respect for her. You know, I had seen this meme that had said, I need somebody that comes into my life that makes me feel like I cannot play with him. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want to even jokingly test the waters to play with them, as in like what I imagined was like you kind of have to have your shit together in order to be with your one person, right? And for me, example, if things were to ever come in alignment with my first love and I, right? I know, and it scares the shit out of me. It's the same way that I felt during my beginning of my devotion, in a sense. It scares the shit out of me because I know that I cannot play with that man. I know that that's it. That would be it for me. That would be it. Because I don't want to risk losing him and losing this incredible love and this incredible sense of yearning and completion, right? Or an addition to. And it's the same sense. You kind of have to have some sort of fear to come with respect and devoted. Devotion is for life. It's not something that you can pick up and leave it for 10 plus years and then come back and then reclaim your throne or reclaim status quo and say I've been devoted actually for 20 years, but you've walked away for 12. The math ain't mathin'. So do you really think that it's going to take just a few months, even just a year or two, to come back to the devotion and then start selling her products? You don't think that she's going to let you for a while, watch you, but also she's going to come down with that scythe and rip that shit away. Because one thing that I've noticed is that a lot of spirits do watch you, do your thing, and then when you feel like you may be in the peak of the peak, snatch all that shit away because you play with them, you broke promises. Come with respect. If you are lacking in whatever sense in your spirituality and you are afraid that Santa Muerte feels some sort of way, reflect. Are you doing something extremely unforgiven, or are you just simply needing to clean the altar, refresh the altar, and talk to her? Because at the end of the day, your devotion and your journey is your devotion and your journey with her. It looks different for everybody, and you should not want another devotee to hold your hand and give you all the answers. I have people in my DMs asking me the simplest questions about Santissima when all they need to do is just sit the fuck down and talk to her. How do you want me to give you all the answers? Why do you want to become dependent on somebody to give you all the answers when the answers are between you and her? I'm not here to play with y'all's money or time. I don't want y'all to be dependent on me, because then that just defeats the whole purpose of helping y'all tap into your most divine and authentic self and get into your devotion and your path with Santissima the right way. So why would I want that? I wouldn't. And I wouldn't want y'all to become so dependent on asking me, does she like cigarettes? Or does she like this? Ask her. Sit down. That just lets me know that you are not taking your devotion as seriously as you may make it look like. Because if you were really taking your time with your devotion, you would get a journal, you would start on some sort of divination tool, you would spend time at your altar. If you don't have an altar, then you would take the time to learn the prayers at least, and like buy a rosary or something small that you can hold if you don't have an altar yet. But eventually y'all are going to need an altar, eventually. Now if you travel a lot, there's traveling altars, but that's just in my opinion about needing to have an altar eventually, because it's a whole different type of level of connection. So it really, really depends on what and how you're doing things with Santa Muerte. If you coming from a good heart, a good place in your heart, then, talk to her. I do want to make a point though. I do want to make a point because there's been a few times when people have told me, like, for example, I asked her for X, Y, and Z, and she did come through, and then I've kind of like not done anything else for her. Like, you asked her for a favor or two, and now you've discarded her and you haven't been consistent. Can I come back and like devote myself to her? And I always say, are you wanting to come back to keep asking her for favors, or are you trying to come back to actually devote yourself, because this is for life. You have to be consistent and you have to be honest with yourself on that answer. And during the time that you were asking her for favors, did you have the statues? Did you have altars? What did you do with it? How did you dispose of it? It all plays a part. Now, I also had a person in the past, a couple years back, that had told me that she stole money from Santa Muerte's altar that we had here in one of our local botanicas. And after that, she became like a fucking crackhead and had like really bad addiction. And that's usually what happens when you fuck around in her altar, and especially when you steal money. Something happens to you. And she had told me, would I be able to return to her? And she was wearing her bracelets and like putting her out in her like music videos. And I'm like, baby, no. What are you thinking? Like, it does not matter how much you may promote her. Doesn't matter how much you wear her. It's not her. It's the same sense of you abandoning her for a man, for a woman, getting rid of her altar to be with that person, and then it doesn't work out, and then now you're flaunting her again and selling her products and calling yourself a practitioner and giving the word of Santa Muerte. You know what that gives me? That gives me pastor vibes that don't really be about the word of God, don't really know the actual Bible, and thinks that everything around them is evil besides Christianity and Jesus Christ. That's what it gives me. It gives me somebody that is phony and not authentic into their devotion to Santa Muerte. And that's why I talk about it so proudly with my devotion, because I have not once left her. I have shown my work, I have been transparent, and I allow people to be vulnerable in our sessions together to make sure that we are here as a community to build and to grow. Reason why I'm doing more phone call readings and, sessions to integrate your devotion to Santa Muerte, so that way you can grow and then you can come back to me in a couple years, like some of my clients have, and giving me a rundown on how their rituals are going and all of that sense. I'd love to hear that. But never become dependent and never feel like you can't just go and talk to her if it's something that needs to be talked about. A lot of us have been going through a huge, huge transition before, during, and even right now after the eclipse. Don't let people play you a fool and make you think that what you're feeling is invalid, because we're all going through a huge spiritual awakening and a huge spiritual warfare. And I will get more into it later on when the time is right and when I have more time, of course. Um, but as always, be consistent, persistent, patient into your devotion, and that will help you with everything else in your life. It will become an alignment. You'll see it. And I'm not perfect. Y'all have seen me. I have been taking accountability for the past few weeks and the past few months of my lack of being in Divine Hoops and Patreon, my orders and everything. But like I've always said, if I am not in the right headspace, I am not touching anything that requires my energy, because I don't want to give that to y'all. I'm not like these money hungry people that are in complete shambles and just, hold on, y'all. OMG. Okay. I just had a blushing. I just got a notification. Okay, but I'm not those type of people. I really want y'all to grow as much as y'all can. So I hope, I hope, I hope that you guys take something out of this. I truly, truly hope you guys do, because I wouldn't want anything more than to see all of y'all expand and grow. And if, please, if you have any questions, DM me. I am back. I am here. I'm going to start going live again. I'm gonna be doing a lot on my Patreon. Oh, I forgot to mention that. I am doing a healing circle next full moon with Santa Muerte. I will be playing some frequency music, pulling some cards, and doing a live healing ritual on there. For those who are on my Patreon, Patreon now is only $11.11 a month to have access to completely everything on there. With those on my Patreon, next month is going to be our, how do I call it? Basically, our test run with this healing circle that I want to do on a monthly basis. So if you go ahead and join my Patreon, you're gonna start seeing a lot more on there. We'll get into everything that I've been wanting to talk about, truly. And yeah, I'm having rituals almost every day, if not every other day. Back how I used to do it, of course. And I would love to see new faces and experience new people because I am so excited. I'm so excited to have so many of you. Please make sure to read all terms and conditions. There's no refunds for anything. Somebody tried to play with me, and I became in the spiritual debt because me trying to be nice. And Azriel gave me an earful on that too. So yeah, it's been a wild ride. It's been a wild ride, but I am so thrilled to really be back with y'all and getting back into the basics of it all. And again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. There's no such thing as stupid questions. However, if you're asking for really, really, really simple things, please don't take offense if I just tell you to sit the fuck down to the altar and reflect on there. Take it to the altar before you come to me. So if you're hitting roadblocks, book a session with me and let's see what we can do to un- unwind all of that. Next episode, Miss Divine Derica will be here. I'm so excited to have her on the podcast again. Me and her hit it off so perfect. She's literally my twin. And I know that you guys loved the other episode that we did. And I think more so than ever, now that time has passed and we've actually been in more communication, it'll be a great session. She's a beautiful soul, somebody that I can really feel comfortable shouting out and supporting unconditionally because she is so genuine. I know that Azriel was very wary about who I shut out and who was in my circle, and it's rightfully so. He saw all the BS that I had encountered with Des, with Phoenix and Miklan, Roman, and all of them. So I am thankful, truly. So until next time, guys, make sure to say your prayers and go ahead and cleanse, y'all. Adios.